I think away from the last class was under the caring for your employees, where it was stated that your job as an FM is to support your people, strengthen their competencies, and help them find meaning in their work. And all this can be done by when you show them genuine concern. You get to know your employees. You express praises for them whenever they do a job well done. And you should also train them. Allocate time and money to train them. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. That's good. Diana.
Good evening, sir, and good evening, class. Okay, three things. First and foremost, we must have a pool of skilled people in our network. Then also outside of our organization, we should also have people that we can relate to in events that we need the services of our FM personnel. Then the other one is with respect to the training. It's not enough to assume that people should know what to do. We should make deliberate efforts to train and invest in training. You gave an example of somebody who is not seeing the need to train his people. So I think it is very important. If you train people, you equip them with the right tools. It's like sharpening your blade, your saw.
Yeah, sure.
And you see that they can deliver optimally. So it's even to your advantage when you train people and empower them to do their job.
Perfect. Thank you. Tosin.
Yeah, thank you, sir. My takeaway is about not seeing people as a tool to just getting things done, but as part of the organization to actualizing the goals, the objective of the organization.
Okay.
Ensuring that they are part, of as in the essence of the organization in their own little way that they are functioning. And also to have a pool of human resources at different levels that you'll be needing them to executing tasks or jobs. Then also hiring for succession plan. Hiring not for just for the present tasks, but for also future opportunities also.
Fantastic.
Then what else? Quite a number of things. Don't let me say everything.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. That was good. So we have Francis bubbling in and out. He has been in twice. I think it must be network from his side, but it looks like network is pretty much stable today. I've been in this call now for more than 20 minutes. I've not had any slight fluctuation, which is a good thing. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Today we want to look at business. When you are taking a professional course, one of the characteristics of a professional course is that it should be able to lead you into full-time gainful employment or into self-employment. That's the key characteristic of professional course. So any course that cannot, any course that cannot lead you in both directions is not professional. And that's why in facility management, we also talk about the business side of FM. And if you've followed the way we have presented our training from the onset, you realize that it captures both the essence of working for a company and also being able to develop solutions to provide services to your own customers. So today we're going to look at business. We'll be taking a close look at the FM industry. You as a facility manager will become able to stand out because you have business skills. When you look at communication, leadership, stakeholder courses, and the business case presentation course, it tells you that you can be an entrepreneur. You can think like one, like an entrepreneur, even if you are in paid employment. You can always talk value proposition, and whatever the essence is to get what you want. Okay, technical knowledge of the FM profession, the tools, the ideas, the principles to deal with situations are all very good, but you also need the commercial or business knowledge, and that's what we're going to do today. So it's not enough for you to be technically savvy, but rather be able to understand the importance of facility management, business organizations, and operations, while also learning strategic internal marketing as well as external marketing to furnish you with nitty-gritty of the business world in relation to FM as a profession. So that's the good thing we're going to be learning. Part of the outline of today's course includes how to start a business generally, the business plan, market survey, business registration, legal and complement regulatory compliance. Those are basically business generally. We're going to look at professional business membership, specifically coming into the FM industry, success principles, FM market landscape, scope of FM services, FM market segmentation, and types of FM contracts that we'll be exposed to. So I think every business, we must agree, starts with an idea. An idea is usually based on a need, an opportunity. So a certain segment of our target market has a need that we can come in to fix. They may have a problem that we can solve. There could be also an opportunity that we can take advantage of. So that's where the business idea comes from. Then, in looking at the business idea, because you almost not have anything you can reinvent the wheel with. People have talked about it in one way or the other, have done something related, if not exactly the way it hits your mind. So you must find a category lacking recent innovation. So there could be a lot of people into a particular business, but you're looking at which particular part of that business aspect have not had recent, worthwhile innovations. And then that's where your niche should sit. So you'll find the customers that have the certain frictions and how those frictions can be resolved. And once you have a secret sauce for resolving those frictions, automatically those customers who will depend on you for that solution automatically becomes your niche. Okay, you could be trying to make a cheaper version of an existing product. It's not about what we call the innovation at that level where you found something so unique that nobody has thought about it in the world. There could be things that are still very profitable in the industry we are in that people have been doing, but it's not cheaper, okay? For you to be able to get that kind of insight, you must become an insider to understand the market. I've seen some people just resign from the bank, set up an FM company, retire from an oil and gas company, set up an FM company. It's important that even if you are trying to do this at a point when you have left paid employment, be an insider. Don't wait till that time when your money can easily go lost. Carry out feasibility study, get to know people who are in the business, how they're faring, how the market is, what's working, what's not working, and then begin to play the mix and match game. So you begin to more like testing the waters. If this was a problem and this solution was there, and there's still a residual problem, what other solution can take care of that residual problem, things like that. So you're just doing some of those analysis to come up with an idea for a plan, what you would call a business plan. A business plan does not necessarily mean that elaborate. I've seen a lot of business plan templates I've seen some documents, 100, 200 pages business plan. I fell into that trap when I started out 6, 7 years ago, trying to first create a business plan. And for months, I was still working on the business plan, and until it dawned on me that, look, you can't keep working on a business plan. The moment you have the ideas, you can put down some questions, but that's the basic idea of a plan. A plan is at the basic level, answers to salient questions. So if you can write down 5 to 10 salient questions and provide answers to them, then of course you already have a plan. As soon as you have a plan at that basic level, while you are thinking of fleshing it out, and building upon it to make it bigger later, you immediately begin to implement the plan. You begin to act on aspects of it that gives you a soft landing or easy, startup in that business domain. And then nowadays in Nigeria, before you could register your business, start running it, and nobody cares about tax. Nobody asks you about tax. Today, the tax authorities and the CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission, that does registration in Nigeria, they have teamed up to create one single automated process. As soon as you get a company registered, your company is already registered for tax. Okay? Obtain necessary licenses and permits, depending on the industry you are in, and the industry you target to work for. For example, we targeted to work for the oil and gas industry early enough. So beyond the statutory permits and licenses that are compulsory for all businesses, like having your ITF, NSITF, PENCOM, Group Life, HMO for staff, and so on and so forth. We had to get Department of Petroleum Resources, DPRO, as well as NIPEX registration, and so on and so forth, because you know that your licenses will not only be because of your industry. The FM industry, for example, does not necessarily have a compulsory license you must get. Like certain aspects of engineering, you must have some engineering certifications and licenses, right? But in FM, the barrier to entry is very, very low. You may not necessarily have any qualification or anything required to join into FM. So because that's how it is. It's an open, virtually an open court for everybody. So you hear of this, get a space to operate. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be an office space. The business can start from your own space at home. I was home for almost a year working on the business before I opened shop. But what I realized in that process was that instead of opening the office first, the website as an office, the website as your shop front is more important. So work faster on your website and get a website running. Put some basic facts about you and start actually reaching out through there, right? As part of your marketing plan. And then before you probably get to the point where you're going to gain traction and you want capital and financing. Most of the time, financing for startups or businesses will come from your own personal funds. I used to say it, I had 15 million in the bank, and I thought that 15 million was going to take me for a whole year or so, and then I'll make so much money on top. But the 15 million was gone in 6 months. I had not sold a dime, so, and that's exactly how it went in 2015. But of course, because we're able to do the right things in terms of creating awareness, even while we ran out of cash, we didn't have to close shop and restart again, right? So we started generating little by little revenue, and then we started, rotating this revenue back into investment, and we stayed afloat organically till now. Okay, so that business idea we talked about starts with creation, assessment, planning, development, testing, and launch. The whole idea is you think through the business idea and you write down what that business idea should be. If you have books like business, how do you call that book? I remember the name. I have two of these books that I use to develop Business Model Generation. Yes, that's the name of that book. It's a very catchy cartoon type, easy to read and easy to follow book on business model generation. How to define your business idea in a canvas. It's called the business model canvas, right? And then there's the other one, the value proposition handbook. So it's a book that helps you come up with business value proposition, where you look at what kind of customers you have, and then you decide how to respond to the customer. Basically breaking down your thoughts using a template format. Your business plan too, like I said, doesn't need to be a very laborious or large document. It could be a very simple 1-page, 2-page document. The important thing is that the idea you have, the vision you have, you can express in a few words, and your business plan is ready. Basically, you want to simply use it as a tool to guide how you move from thoughts, from idea to activity. And that's the power of the business plan. Some of us make business plans so laborious that by the time we are done writing the business plan, we don't open it again, and we're not even doing what's in the business plan, right? So let it be a continuous writing process. Let it not be a process that, it's done and dusted, and therefore I have to implement what I've written down. At the beginning of most businesses, the ideas you have may not necessarily be the final product. Some people are working on one path towards the business idea, and then something tends to halt, derail, or they seem to stumble, and before you know what's happening, they find themselves in a better idea, right? So that's being able to be flexible and agile, to be able to respond to the markets when the markets tell you that this is specifically what we want. Is very important when doing business idea generation. So we talked about business plans, just a few more tips. There are many sample plans you can find online. There are so many business plans you can draw insights from. Gather data about the business, find out about people who buy the products and services from competitors, what competitors there are out there, just basically put things down, and then ensure that you are able to communicate to authority whatever qualifies you to be in that business, okay? If I go into a health business today, I probably will have, I'll have to use my health consciousness, my fitness strategies of the last few years, how I, did this and did that and became this and that as my credibility. For other businesses, it could be certifications, whatever gives you authority, whatever makes people listen to you in that area, okay? And then, of course, nothing these days that's not visual. Everything is visual. You must be able to provide some visual effects in terms of, graphics to whatever you're packaging, even if it's a PowerPoint presentation, to try to convince a buyer, prospective buyer, or even an investor. You must find a way to put some level of design, just give it some visual effect, okay? Okay, so you want to ask yourself market, and I'm doing a lot to stress this aspect because quite a handful of people have gone into business because they see an opportunity and they want to tap into that opportunity, and they didn't do anything to market themselves to get that opportunities that they started with, right? When they do have any market disruption or any failure or any turbulence along the line, and that particular opportunity ceases, they almost always exit that business endeavor. They just leave it because they've not built the capability or the ability to market It is your number one skill in any business. If you are so good at what you do and you cannot market it to get people to buy it and patronize you, the only option you'll have is to allow someone else hire you to do the job for him or her, because he or she can go get the business. In essence, marketing and sales trumps production. Your ability to deliver is secondary to your ability to market and sell. And this is something that many employees they lose out on. When you hear people say, no, I don't like sales department, I don't like sales targets, I don't like marketing, I don't like going out to meet people, I don't like this and that, right? If you don't develop ability to sell, you can never be rich. It's just an impossibility that you become rich and successful in any field if you don't know how to sell. Sell yourself for promotions and for new jobs. Sell yourselves and your services to get paid. Sell yourself to investors to fund so you can actualize your dreams. Whatever it is, you must know how to sell. Okay? So that's why we talk about first of all, trying to understand the market through market survey, right? So who are my target audience? What's the nature, extent, and size of my market? Who is buying what from who? What are the competitors like? What aspect do I want to investigate, and how do I want to get involved, right? Which kind of customers am I looking for? So I can be specific in targeting them. And what type of survey? What are the tools I'm going to use to reach out to get a sense of what's happening in the market? All right. I might not be able to reach all aspects of the market. There's a new venture we're working on now that provides FM services to individuals, not to estates or to corporations, just retail form of facility management. Not necessarily just the maintenance, like you have all these workmen sites that everybody registers to get workmen to work. No, we're talking about professional facility management, but at a retail level, right? Who do we want to sample for something like this? We pick out an estate in Lekki and put out a survey to find out how disposed they will be to having a standby team to attend to their facilities needs as individuals, not collectively, right? And there must be some ways to quantify the answers we're going to get, be able to do some analysis, and then ensure that we get information that we need to move forward with that investment. Because before you get to the point of actually getting, whether it's your own savings you want to spend, or an investor's money who believes in what, at least there must be a point where you must have some objective data with which you can work. If you don't already have some objective data with which you can work, then you are, moving blindly, and that might be very risky. All right, so in Nigeria, you register your business to be able to run a business with the CAC, the Corporate Affairs Commission. It could be a business name registration. Before now, a business name registration was available to only sole proprietors, which means it has to be owned by one person, and that person is registering an enterprise or a venture, and that person does not have any separated liability from that company. That company is as good as the person, the way the person is as good as the company. So that's a business name. Recently, the CAC has now allowed to have partnerships within the business name, still as enterprise, not limited liability, but they now have partnerships. The same way, in the private limited companies, you used to have a minimum of 2 to a maximum of 50 people that must be shareholders in the business, which means you can have a sole proprietor who runs a limited liability company. But that again has changed. Now, come out 2020, you can have a sole proprietor run a limited liability company, right? And then there's the public limited company. So if your company has more shareholders than 50, then automatically it has become a public limited company, right? A public limited company may be quoted in the stock exchange, may not be quoted in the stock exchange. It doesn't necessarily follow that if you're a public limited company, it must be quoted in the stock exchange. It doesn't follow. It is the number of shareholders that have passed the threshold allowed by law for the company to be addressed or seen as a private limited company that makes it a public limited company, a PLC. Company limited by guarantee. Companies limited by guarantees are like private limited companies, but they are usually not for-profit companies. They are usually not for-profit companies. They are associations, they are professional bodies. This is what you use to to register companies, organizations. They could handle funds, they could be commercial, but they are not for profit. They are not having, so the trustees are not necessarily the owners. It's assumed that this is a public trust organization. And then you have the unlimited company, just the opposite of the limited, the private and public limited. In essence, the unlimited company is saying the liabilities of the directors or owners are not separated, right? So unlike the private limited or public limited, where the company is an entity in its own and the promoters are separate. If that company goes bust, the promoter can still be rich while the company folds over. The unlimited company is the reverse, that is the case. And they have the incorporated trust. Incorporated trust is similar to company limited by guarantee, but just that this is a completely social enterprise. It is not a commercial enterprise. Why should you register your business? Early registration helps you secure your choice names, and you'll be surprised how a name that you thought has been in your head for the last 10 years, you now say, let me go and register it. This name is unique to me. I made it up. You'll be shocked how much opposition you might get. You might find either that name has already been registered and taken, or that name sounds so much or spells so much like another name that is already in the registry. The system will flag it up and say, we cannot approve this name for you because there's another name in the system that that looks as if it relates to this particular name that you're trying to get. Please give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back. Thank you. All right. Sorry, guys, for that slight disruption. All right. So don't put the name in your head and say I made it up. And anytime I like, I go and register it. No, the earlier you register it, the better. So you can take it up. Again, when you have a company registered, you feel a sense of responsibility, right? So getting the business rolling, at least you've crossed the first hurdle. You'll be able to open a corporate account with your business name. You can only go do so much in business as you. There's so far you can go in business as you. Very, very few professions have allowed their members to just register their own name as an enterprise, and then move on with the business. Most other professions in Nigeria today, you will have to register one of the limited liability company categories. Okay, but either way, it doesn't matter. If you have an enterprise, a venture, a sole proprietorship, any of those business name registration category, you can open an account with that business name. I remember as far back as the early 90s, I had, business names registered, and I had businesses running when I was still in school, because that's how I saw my career going, working, having a business, and making some returns along the way until I get to the point where I have to retire, resign, and move into full business. Today in Nigeria, registering your business is easier than anything. In fact, I have registered both a business name and limited liability company in less than 2 hours on the CAC portal. In fact, they now allow, in fact, when the CAC portal started working, we had to upload all kinds of stuff. And when it gets to signature, you have to download first and then sign and scan back. Now they simply ask you to snap your signature and load it up. So your signature is taken in from a photograph and loaded up right into the system. So, and then they have what they call the stamp duty, all of those fees that you should pay to get registered. You can just use your card on their website, and it takes you to Remitter, and you make the payments, and you put in your evidence of payment, and the steps go on. Even the memorandum and article of association that used to require either an auditor, an accountant, or a lawyer to write, and they will have all those plenty stories. It's not so simplified. You have a template where just write the objects of the business. I want to be doing this. I want to be doing that. I want to be doing that. Think through everything you want to be doing. Just write them simply. Your memo is ready right inside the system. Okay, right inside the system. For facility management, we don't have any professional license requirements. So of course, once our IDs, you put your IDs into it, your business is formed, and you have your incorporation documentation. So now there are certain regulatory compliance issues that you need to be aware of. For business in Nigeria, you need to have tax clearance certificate. So you're starting off, so you don't have a tax clearance, but there is something you will do to be able to get a tax clearance. It's called a pre-operational filing. You go and file to the Inland Revenue authorities that you have not started operations, and you want to file your annual returns. You do a statement similar to your audited account, but it's not called an audited account. It's a statement of affairs. That's what they call that document. It simply says the company is incorporated, it's alive, but it's not started, active business. With that submission and a filing, annual returns filing as well with CAC, you could actually apply for tax clearance certificates. And the tax clearance certificate will simply say, you are yet to commence business, and you have this tax clearance certificate that will last so and so the whole year. It's very important that you don't delay too much from when you register your company to when you start filing this necessary filing, because over time the penalties become stiffer and stiffer for not making this filing. It becomes very expensive. So that when an opportunity comes tomorrow and you need to submit a bid, or something that you could easily have aced because you have what it takes to deliver on that job or that opportunity, but you don't have the statutory clearance, you may not be considered pre-qualified for that job, and that could be an issue. And then you have the employee statutory compliance. I think you have to have 3 staff before the employee deductions and statutory compliance kicks in for pensions, NHF, which is the housing fund, payee. You have the PENCOM, you have the that's the pension. PENCOM is pension. You have the HMO for medical, right? So you need to have, those NSITF and ITF are also additional things the government, because the government tries to insist that these agencies must, qualify or test or receive some kind of license fees from any company that is operating. And if you're focusing on the oil and gas industry, or you have clients in the oil and gas industry you are targeting, you need your DPR permits, NIPEX, the Nigeria Petroleum Exchange, where all the jobs in the, it's like the procurement is their procurement tool used by NAPIMS for all the subsidiaries or companies that are operating as joint ventures with government NNPC. And then you have the LASA for signage, you have if you're going to have the signage, and then you have the LASEPA permits or license if you have to do environmental work, landscaping, fumigation, and the rest. And then local governments as well also have premises permits. For example, if you open up shop, they expect you to take certain papers that show that you have your premises been approved. And then you have Standard Organization of Nigeria, which also has certain permits that it issues, mostly in the area of goods production, those who are into goods production. EFCC, SSS, these agencies, they tend to, even ICPC, they tend to watch out for financial crimes. So if you're going to be in business, a business that requires cash movements, there's always suspicion of money laundering. So you need to have some kind of clearance and some kind of returns you send to these agencies. The Financial Reporting Council is the council in Nigeria that regulates all financial reporting. So when you do your annual reports, when you do any financial accounts, this is FROC. They are the regulatory body for all kinds of accounting and reporting of financial data. They're the ones that ensure that you actually report well so that companies can be comparable between each other. And then because we're in the facility management space, there are certain memberships that you should try and maintain. I think the number one now, even though it's not listed here, is the Association of Facility Management Practitioners Nigeria, AFMPN. AFMPN is the national body for facility managers in Nigeria, all facility management practitioners. So you can join as an individual, you can also join as a corporate member. And this same applies to IFMA Nigeria, the DIFM, which is now IWFM. Global IFM is actually a body for national associations. So individuals cannot join Global FM. We as Nigeria Association of Facility Management are part of Global FM, just the way IFMA and IWFM are members of Global FM. You have the Building Owners and Managers Institute, BOMA International. I don't think there's a BOMA branch of network in Nigeria yet. Euro FM has ambassadors across the continent as well. Middle East FM Association, they also run professional association, and so on and so forth, all the way down to the professional bodies that make up the built environment in Nigeria, like NIA for architects, NSC for engineers, NIQS for surveyors, quantity surveyors, NIESV for estate surveyors, and so on and so forth. Now, so you could be in one of these already, and you now add the FM professional associations to the bodies you belong to, just to give you some level of credence or credibility in the industry. To succeed as a businessman or woman, you need to have an entrepreneurial mindset. And I dare say that this entrepreneurial mindset starts long while you are still in paid employment. In many cases, even while you are still in school. If you now decide that you've not built it before now and you want to build it now, it's important that you know what it means. It means that you take ownership of whatever you do. It means that you have your eyes on every aspect of the business. It means that you're commercially savvy, which means you know the difference between input and output in terms of cost and sale or revenue. And you also know how to negotiate to get the best margin, and so on and so forth. So entrepreneurial mindset is really a broad terminology, but it means that you can run a business. It means you can run a business profitably. Find a need in the market, find what you love to do. I hear this all the time: follow your passion, money will follow you. We always try to balance the two, right? If your passion is not what the client is going to pay for, or you don't have clients who are going to pay for you following your passion, you probably just die following your passion. So do what you love to do, but make sure that you have, fine-tuned it to an area where someone in the market is willing to pay you. Because at the end of the day, if you're not being paid, then you're not in business. You're not an entrepreneur, to be honest. And I have a strict fiscal discipline. Your money and your business money are not the same. That you have access, you're so signature, you have access to do transfer from your company account does not mean that you start doing the transfer from your company account. In fact, to define this differentiation for those of you who already have businesses, make sure that your business pays you the way your business pays every other participant in the business. So the business sees its profit at the end of the day, and you can dive on the profits and pull them out if you want. It's your money, right? But until you get to profit, you only get paid for your efforts towards the business. And for those who say things like, oh, I don't want to pay myself, let me just keep allowing the business to grow, at some point, I'll get money out of it, you're making a huge mistake. I usually pay myself first. After I paid myself, I now loan the business money. That time the business is coming to me to ask for money. When I borrow money to the business, it is recorded as a loan from me, the MD who owns the business. That is how to have fiscal discipline. There's a separation between you and the business, and everybody must know that. Don't dip your hand in your personal pocket to do a business transaction. Don't put your hand into the business coffers to do a personal transaction. You must have a kitchen cabinet of advisors, people who you can go to. Even till today, big organizations like UPDC and Wema Board, they will still come to me and say, Mr. Paul, we want to set up an FM and we want to do this business and that business, because you must have advisors. You cannot say you know everything, right? In every domain, there are certain consultants and experts who know the domain, who know the terrain and can advise you. Even from among your own network, you must have, some close people that you can bounce ideas off and you can get insights from them. Be careful how you select your kitchen cabinet advisors. Don't select people who either are not successful or are not in the path of success, people who are not motivated by the same thing that motivates you, because they will not be giving you advice that will drive you in the direction that you want to go as an individual, right? But don't also clog it with people that are always like you. Let the people in your kitchen cabinet of advisors who will be able to call your bluff, who will be able to cool you down and say what you are doing is wrong. This is what I think, this is what I think. So you have that diversity working for you, you do very well. And then your brand, everything from your logo, your colors, what it represents, defining your brand Bible and all that. It's a lot of work, but it must be given a good thought. I've seen situations where you go tell one artist, make a logo for me. This is the name of my company. The artist probably didn't ask you any question, just makes one logo for you and you adopt it. No, you must think through the process in such a way that you articulate, why you want a logo, what the logo should represent, how the logo should act or reflect on your business, and so on and so forth. I remember when we were defining the brand for Max-Migold then, I had 4 different creative teams working on it. So I just wanted to have a variety so that I can pick up one and say, this is the one I prefer, right? They all came back one by one. I still have all their folders of what they delivered, and I couldn't pick anyone. I just couldn't connect. I showed them my business plan, I showed them my concept, I told them what my vision and mission was, and so on and so forth. I still couldn't pick any of this. The guy who was standing by to receive those logos to go and print, he was getting exhausted and he was thinking, oh, why are all these guys bringing designs that you don't like? Okay, even me that is going to print, let me see what I can do. Overnight, he came back with something. I said, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I've been looking for. The day I saw it, I said, this is it. 5 years down the line, when we wanted to review our branding, that particular logo I kept it. I said, no, it's not going anywhere, and that has stayed with us till now. From the happen chance of a printer who just decided to do something to contribute his bit to the options that we had on ground. But at the end of the day, it aligned with what we thought through in the business plan, what we thought through as our concept, our philosophy for the business, and it's Max-Migold, maximizing your potential as our tagline, the green representing sustainability, the gold representing wealth and prosperity, and the logo is the abstract image of taking to flight, a bird taking to flight, soaring as a concept. And it just came together. It just came together beautifully, and that's exactly what we're talking about. You define the brand, you identify the highest priority actions that help you fulfill the needs of the clients, delegate low priority things. This is also very important. Entrepreneurs, we tend to want to do everything. Okay, so delegate low priority things does not mean that you have to employ people to do all kinds of stuff, right? When I started out mainly all digital marketing, I went to learn it. I learned how to work on my WordPress, on my website. I learned how to do a lot of things by myself, but I can't do everything by myself on an ongoing basis, right? So two things. One, hire somebody. That person could be on part-time, could be on remote, could be a virtual assistant, on a flexible arrangement, and then have other people who you are tasked to. It's when the opportunities are there, especially when it's time to deliver to a client and somebody needs to do some work, you are tasked to that person to do that bit of work. And structure of business in such a way that it maximizes profits. Some people know how to spend, they don't know how to receive. And that's a tragedy for business owners. You expect others to use their discretion to bring money for you while you know when to spend money, send money out. That's terrible. Profits will come when the cost at which you deliver the service is less than the revenue you get. And the rate at which you deliver the service is fast, and the revenue you're expecting also comes in quickly, because money has time value. You cannot ignore that. Save a portion of your profits and build a cushion of liquidity. Now, before I even go to this issue of starting to have profits, you see, I mentioned a while ago that I started out having 15 million, for example, and I said, oh, this money is going to be enough. I'll make a lot of money. And then I ended up spending it all out, and I have not made any money yet, right? That, for me, is a mistake I learned later. With the power of hindsight, I can tell you, if you have 15 million to start a business, plan around 5 million. With the give or take chance, 50-50, you will succeed. If you succeed, 10 million is in the savings, 5 million is generating more money, right? If you fail, does not mean that you fail and fall flat and stay there. It means that you can get up again, but getting up again this time, you take another of your 1/3, which is another 5 million, but this time you are smarter, you are wiser, you know better, you know how you fell before, you're not going to fall again this time, and you make a tweaking of your processes and your plans, and then you implement. What is worse is if it crashes again and you have to go for the third tranche. But at least that has given you 3 experiences, 3 opportunities to succeed, unlike having just one opportunity by pumping your 50 million into it at once, right? And when you start having profits, when you start having business returns, that's not the time to start pulling out funds from your business, right? Build a cushion of liquidity. Let there be some cash. Now, I have found this very powerful. At times when I've been able to build cash, what happens is an opportunity comes. It's an opportunity to execute and get paid quickly, and I have the cash and I put it in. I get a margin on my revenue. I'm happy, right? But if I didn't have the cash, what's going to happen is that it's either I begin to look for those who have the cash, who rather want to do the business themselves, or I go into a loan and an interest. If I have the opportunity to even do that, because even the banks are going to give you a loan, they want to see your liquidity again before they can decide that you are cash credit worthy to give you cash to do a business. So in essence, cash flow, cash is king, they say in business. Invest a portion of your money and make sure your money is working for you and you're not working your life for your money. Communicate the product, in the values and needs of your employees and clients. And this is very important. Everybody that works for you must be entrenched into the philosophy of the product, understand the product and service thoroughly. If people refuse to understand and refuse to communicate confidently what services you are rendering, they don't need to be there. You can't have hangers on. Somebody says, oh, I'm an accountant. My business is sit and wait for money to come so I can count it. That person should be out of the business as quickly as possible. If that person does not understand how the money is coming, does not understand how the service is delivered, does not understand the value of what goes into bringing that money in the first place, that person will make a very lousy accountant. The same thing applies to all of your positions, whether it's HRO, project manager, facility manager, any position that you employ in your business. The people must understand the philosophy. They must understand the value of the business. They must be able to sell it and get deals in. If they're not able to, they are not good. Don't think that, oh, this era of specialization, everybody must be specialized to have one skill or the other, and that's all. Some people say, oh, Mr. Paul, I'm a graphic designer. I want to be designing graphics as a job. I say, no. You're missing the point. You must understand facility management. You must understand the kind of customers, what they want, how our products are useful for them, and then you begin to design graphics that reflects that understanding, because that's the only way your graphics is going to give me the right customers to look at my service and buy my service. So whatever you do, websites, just name it, whatever, you must understand the business. If you don't, that business is doomed. And that's one big problem most entrepreneurs have. They get somebody in and say, this is your part of the business, focus on it. This is your part of the business, focus. If it's a small business, we are all in all parts. We understand everything. Even though we have our own specifics, things we will do, I will be doing strategy, I will be doing customer interface, I will be doing consulting write-ups, I will be doing proposals and the rest. I'm also the chief salesperson, even though I have a sales head in the organization. That's how it should work. And then you must have excellent customer service. You cannot be nonchalant about your first customers. In fact, I'm of the opinion that you should go out of your way to get loyal customers from those that come into the business and maintain that track record on an ongoing basis. Businesses that do this and that, maybe rise again a little bit and then finally die finally, are those that don't have a connection with their customers. The customers are supposed to be your ambassadors, right? So if you think that you're going to keep having new customers that you're going to abuse and misuse, and new ones will come in for you to abuse and misuse them, then your business has a short timeline. It's going to go out quick. Cash position and good banking relationship. This is very important. So it was a delight for me recently I think it happened last year as well, and then this year again, when the bank, you just open your banking app and the bank says you're entitled to borrow up to 3 million by just clicking here, so you can collect 3 million and go and do whatever you want to do. They've seen your credibility. They've seen your credit worthiness. That's why they can just open up that. That's why they'll just open up that credit facility and say, oh, you can pull money and do this. Some organizations, because of long time relationship with the bank, can now have what they call a credit line. They open a 1 billion, 500 million credit line, and it will be there. You don't take it. It's not a problem. Whenever you need it, you draw from it and you do a business and you repay back with the interest. It makes a lot of sense. That's why rich people get richer. They have these credit lines. They don't even have to spend their own money doing the business. And then your vision should not be static. The vision you started with is not the vision you should have in the next 5 years, right? The vision should be able to expand, to accommodate more, to innovate more, to capture more customer needs and value integration. You must put energy into innovation and research. Energy, time, money, everything into innovation and research for your business to succeed. So let's look at the facility management industry, facility management landscape. Who are the key players? Which companies have outsourced their FM? What is your assessment of the market? I would like us to have a discussion at this point. If you're in class, you can raise your hand to give me your ideas on these. Let's start with the first one. Who are the key players? Your company could be one of the key players, mention it, and other key players that from your, so a key player would be a service provider, whether integrated service provider or a particular aspect service provider that has, one, good public presence, two, large number of clients, and three, a good reputation. Well, let me tie good reputation to the good public presence, large number of clients, and turnover. So let me hear from you. Who are the key players in the FM industry right now? Throw up some names, guys.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
One of the big players that I know is UPDC.
UPDC, fantastic. Okay. Tell us a little bit about UPDC.
Okay, maybe because I once worked there, though I started with as an IT, and gradually to when they bought the former Doba Hotel, now going to live. You know, they do a lot of, build as in residential, then commercial buildings. They tend to have a lot of land all over Lagos. You know.
Very good. Very good. UPDC is a property development company, right? So and then they also manage for themselves. In fact, I did some consultancy work for them when they were trying to get their FM arm turned into an entity that can actually go and take up jobs for other clients. Yes, so they are a big player. Yes, guys, more.
Okay, for me, two companies readily come to my mind. One of them is Max-Migold, the other is Alpha Meat. Those are two FM companies that I know for a long while now.
Thank you very much. Alpha Meat is one of the what I would call one of the top 10 in the market right now for integrated facility management. In the last 5 years, they've gone into property development as well. So they are now beginning to compete in the space that companies like UPDC has held sway for so long. In the FM space, they are really at the top in terms of FM operations. They also provide some training. So when it comes to the area where Max-Migold is really big is in training and consulting, right? So Alpha Meat started out also producing and rolling out training and still run training programs. But in terms of training and consulting, Max-Migold is more front of mind because we not only develop training for our diploma, we provide training in partnership for all of the short courses given at IFMA Nigeria and other collaborations across the country. Many companies would have experienced some training from Max-Migold. We started out from that. In terms of FM operations, we just have 2 sites. Max-Migold just have 2 sites, 2 medium-sized sites that you'd say a good launching pad. And that's because we started FM operations just last year. In fact, we did not want to go into FM operation. We want to just stay on the consulting and the training aspect. But again, a major driver for the decision not to do FM operations then was because we didn't see the separation of finance from FM. The Nigerian market used financing of operations with the service delivery. Elsewhere, the clients put their money up front so that you, the service provider, have the funds to provide the services. And your own management fee is what you took as your gain at the end of the day. But what we started seeing in Nigeria is that the clients want the FM company to show that they have enough money to bankroll all of their service provision. So we stayed off until we started seeing that the market is turning again. We are beginning to see multinational players who understand how FM is done elsewhere come in to say, you know what, we're going to give you money upfront for 1 year, or upfront for 3 months, or upfront for 6 months to provide services. Now, based on that, we can guarantee quality, unlike what's becoming a problem in the industry where vendors are not paid, workers are not paid, security guards are begging, just because they've not been paid, and FM service quality was dwindling because the clients were trying to pay later, and the FM companies did not have the financial capacity. So that's changing now. So yes, thank you for that mention. Yes, any more? There are so many. We can talk about 10 at least and then move on. Who else is here that doesn't know any FM company that's a major player? And what might surprise you, what might surprise some of you, is that when we talk about major players, your mind will go to those established companies like Global PFI, Alpha Mid, Total FM, Provas, Sable Rapid, which is the biggest FM company in Africa. But many may not look at a revolution, something that is changing in the marketplace right now. We're having a situation where construction companies that used to just build and hand over are beginning to hang on to FM because of the cash flow, because they understand that value of life cycle management, that higher money from operations and maintenance. So right under our nose, companies like Julius Berger now has the largest facility management team in Lagos. You won't believe they have a facility management team that is over 1,000 employees, right? Don't be shocked. They came in from that, we will build and hand over to we will build and hang on to. So they are taking the FM space. You know, companies like G Kappa, Kappa Diabeto, Megastar, ROCC, they are beginning to now develop first an FM or a maintenance division, a department, and then spin off into an entity that competes with the FM company. So be on the lookout for those. And then we now have another industry shaker or mover now is amongst those companies that provide a single service, right? So you have a company that provides just cleaning or just security or just a certain aspect of maintenance like HVAC or electrical maintenance. They will typically be on a project handheld by an FM company, right? They've all begun now to develop direct relationship with the clients. Many clients are not using the IFM companies. They are taking these services one from different service providers. And once they do those, what happens is a prominent provider like a cleaning company that's probably having some large chunk of their budget coming from a particular client can now begin to develop expertise and begin to submit proposals. They do some inspections, they find some things wrong, we give a proposal, they are asked to fix it, they begin to take on FM. So cleaning companies came from right under the FM companies to become bigger, to become really, really bigger. A cleaning company can easily have 4,000, 5,000 staff across the country today, right? And the size of their portfolio is far bigger than most FM companies because clients are more eager to recruit a cleaning company and our task service than to outsource their entire FM because that is almost like something that internal staff does not want to see happen, right? And so when it's time to now outsource, with the cleaning company in-house, a foot in the door, relationship built over the years, they tend to build capacity, raise their profile, and take on the FM jobs. So watch out for those as well. So especially those of you who are looking for work, don't just think that, oh, the FM company that should apply to. No. There's a lot of opportunities in those other companies, both from the upstream construction team and the downstream, the cleaning and single maintenance players as well. So watch out for those. So which companies have outsourced their FM that you know? Now, by outsourced, let's make a distinction here. If you are providing plumbing service and a company calls you to come and be doing their plumbing maintenance, also be manning their swimming pool, and then calls another company to be doing their electrical maintenance, changing bulbs when bulbs die out, right? Those ones are, we don't call those outsourcing of management. That's not IFM or integrated facility management outsourcing. Those ones are basically outsourcing or outtasking. We call those outtasking. So outsourcing is when a company decides to appoint an FM company to become either a principal contractor, which means it will now be the one having contracts with all the other subcontractors or service providers, or a total FM contractor who has the obligation or prerogative to provide all the services themselves. But in all, the client does not provide large-scale management. He hands over management to that company, and the company provides both management and services, right? So whether you provide management as a contractor and you outsource the services, which is IFM, or you provide management and you insource the services within your own organization, which is TFM. Either way, outsourcing of FM involves outsourcing of management. So the client stays on the strategic path, controls his budget, and gets reports from this FM company. Which companies do you know that have outsourced among the clients in Nigeria? Yes. Who's going to go next? Yes, Chimeze, go ahead. I wonder why Chimeze's end sounds so noisy. Is it a headset you're using? Or you're in a noisy place? All right, let's try again. Go ahead, Chimeze. Unmute and go on.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better.
Yes, I said Total E&P. I know them very well for their outsourcing. Because we are once one of the facility managers that handles most of their properties, and also Provost, Briscoe Properties, and a lot of them. So Total is one of them.
Okay, fantastic. Total E&P is a client organization. Briscoe, Provost, and the rest are contractors. They're FM companies, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. The oil and gas industry has quite a formidable presence in the outsourcing space, because first, there's a driver in that industry, this community influence on their operating basis, where they are obliged to give services to community vendors to provide, right? So most of them now decide to employ an FM company to help them manage those vendors in providing the services. So the oil and gas industry, yes, well represented. Shell is outsourcing, Mobil is, Total is, Chevron is. They outsource both catering and everything else. Yes, let's hear from Anthony.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I know of Delta Africa.
Okay.
Is an oil service firm.
Good.
Some times back, I used to manage some of their facilities within a Koli axis,
Good. Yes. So the oil and gas industry seems to have a good presence in outsourcing. One industry that has not fared very well in outsourcing is the banking industry in Nigeria. They tend to have a lot of teams hired to manage their facilities internally, and then they outtask, bits and pieces. A few banks have outsourced a little bit here and there. I know FCMB, for example, bundling some branches in the island area, Lagos Island area, and giving to an FM company and so on and so forth. But in all, considering the number of branches and the presence they have nationwide, they have done very poorly in outsourcing. The telecoms companies have also done very well. I know MTN, for example, started outsourcing about 6 years or so ago. They had to lay off, so many of their staff who were in the management of those facilities. Many of them were laid off by letting them into the FM company that came in to do it. And then they ran a TFM model for a few years. It didn't favor them. They now went away from that model, and they are now operating another model, more like a principal contractor. Not necessarily a principal contractor, because this is more like a managing agent, because principal contractor would have been paid all of the revenues so that they can pay the contractors. They are not doing that. They are still maintaining their relationship with their subcontractors. So these guys who are now doing their IFM are now managing agents, basically supervising those contractors, similar to what Shell and some of the oil companies also do, okay? So in my appraisal of our IFM outsourcing in Nigeria, I will still say we have not yet reached 6% of outsourcing, companies and organizational outsourcing, mainly because the government and public sector is not even looking in this direction yet. It's ridiculous. Such vast properties and assets in the public sector is still being held under admin departments and being held, under procurement departments and petty purchasing here and there. Yes, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Paul.
Good evening.
I think my observation in the oil and gas, it appears to me that predominantly they are doing more of hiring or contracting service providers. And we don't really see them having a central facility management company coordinating, maintenance of assets. So I think I would agree with you that facility management may be well below 60% utilization.
Adoption. Yeah. The oil and gas industry in Nigeria probably are somewhere around 50% in terms of FM outsourcing. Many of them still hold on to large number of hired people who are working for the internal organization as FM managers. But overall, as an economy, the Nigerian economy, I'm talking about 6% and below. We have not even crossed 6%, not 60. Okay. Not 66%, right? So if you take the number of parastatals, agencies, and ministries, and you take all the businesses that have at least equivalent of 10 floors of buildings, maybe 10 bungalows or one high rise, you understand? You would expect that more than 6 over 100 would have outsourced their FM, but that's not the situation right now. Most of them are still outtasking services. They still have people who are running budgets, who are giving plumbing contracts and diesel supply, generator maintenance contracts separately. So
sewage handling, waste
management. Exactly, all in bits.
All
in bits. Exactly. So that level of maturity is what we start with. We start with that service outsourcing, and then we can grow into. And that's why that business model that cleaning companies and security companies and some of these maintenance companies are adopting, where they enter the market as a service company or a one-task company, and later say we can do this, is very profitable. It's a foot in the door. In fact, you might be the one to instigate that outsourcing in that organization over time, because of the relationship you've built and the quality you've delivered in the single service you've given to them up to that point. Okay?
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Did your hand go up again? Oh, I was trying to take it down. Okay. So what are the key trends that are driving growth in the FM industry? There are economic and regulatory developments, economic pressures from regulatory requirements and increased competition. that is pushing companies to evaluate how they do business. Increase reporting, increase fiduciary responsibility, accountability for all kinds of mistakes, control and data requirements from different regulatory agencies is now driving companies to now look for partners who can deliver managed facilities and let them focus on the core business. Imagine there was a time I was in an interview. I was invited by an oil and gas company to London for an interview for a regional role. And one of the biggest concerns they have was that their payroll was flooded by people in facilities. They are not a facility management company. They are a oil and gas, in fact, they are a drilling company, right? They had fewer drillers than people who were taking care of beds and catering and taking care of their offices in their payroll. Why would that be, right? So that was the reasoning. What strategy can we develop to ensure that all of these people are moved off to a third-party contractor to provide those services, while we focus on drilling as a business, right? So that's what they were talking to me about. And this is a major concern for many organizations because your headcount means that you have a regulatory compliance to comply with for everybody on your headcount, okay? And so that's a concern. And then they also want to be able to focus on their core business so that they don't have any of these distractions. You know that somebody who is a driller by profession and by business does not know how to evaluate you in FM. FM is a profession that knows his profession, right? He doesn't know how to evaluate you, doesn't know how to hire the right people, doesn't know how to put appraisal systems in place for them. Everything is just a shamble in that area, right? And for some, they just end up taking people who are failed in the core business and be dumping them in one department, call them the FM department. So getting specialists who are successful at providing services, coming to manage your services is better than handling your services in such haphazard manner, right? So you can focus on your core business. It's a strategic enabler for the organization, right? And then there's increased demand for outsourcing and FM integration. This is like a growing demand. The world just realized that, look, you know what? Let the FM guys handle all of this. Let them pack all our support services and support us and help us, enable us to grow. And then they started signing some international contracts. So you see a company like Knight Frank, Sable Rapids, JLL, for example, they'll win a contract in New York, right? And the contract covers all branches for that multinational organizations in the whole world, right? So once they win such a contract, they will come in to every country and decide whether they want to set up an entity, whether they want to partner with another player, or whether they want to just sublet that contract to a third party in that space. But again, because of this internationalization, there is additional pressures. For example, costs has to go down. Businesses want to reduce their overhead costs, and FM and this particular built environment cost is the second highest overhead cost following HR. So they want to reduce that. They demand for simplification and standardization of services. Let the experts provide standard services, not for them to try to get their heads around it. Internal pains, performance and employee retention, attracting the biggest talents as employees, pressure to deliver the best place to work. So these are some of the things that are driving outsourcing of FM management. Market demand for value-added services. Customer security demand that FM providers have an intimate knowledge of the corporate mission and the vision, competency to address the company's specific needs, initiative to account for key areas of value generation. So even if I'm going to be embedded in an organization as an FM provider, I cannot go in there as an outsider. I must be fully embedded. I must be fully integrated, because the value I provide to the organization must reflect their strategic objectives and how they're going to achieve those strategic objectives. And then drivers like concern for the company environment, accounting for customers, staff and their communities, environmental, being a good citizen with an emphasis on sustainability, economical, ensure shareholder value currently and in the future through increased profitability, which comes because experts are helping you to reduce your costs. A lot of wastage that happens when you manage on your own. is reduced or removed entirely when you outsource. So for those who think that when you outsource, someone else is going to make a lot of profit and as such, and the outsourcing is not a good idea, you may think twice, because you're doing it yourself when it's not your core business. You actually spend more in wastages, okay, and value loss. So the FM, all of these services are the things you currently see right now. Fleet, HSC, pest control, catering, waste management, but the IFM is a management provider that covers all of this, okay? And the scope of FM services could be so broad, right? The list is almost endless. Anything that is not the core business of an organization is facility management service. Anything that is not the core service is facility management service. The FM services could easily be segmented into, hard services and soft services. And then the hard service, I'm sure we know what the difference is, what the difference between the hard and soft is. Hard services are built environment, building services. Soft services are people or occupant services, which provide for people who live and use these facilities. The FM markets can be broken down into various industries: the corporate and commercial, government and public sector, the healthcare, manufacturing, residential, educational, oil and gas, retail and commercial, and others, food, sports, etc. In each of these sectors, you as an FM service provider need to understand the sector. For example, if aviation is not listed, the aviation is a sector on its own. And any industry where property is owned by the players in that industry becomes a sector for FM service provision. And a provider of healthcare FM will have a different set of specialization from a provider of educational institutions, right? So even though we have the base, this is FM principles, this is how we deliver FM, right? We must be able to adapt those principles to the specifics of the industry that we find ourselves. So types of FM contracts, I'll go into this after the break of 5 minutes. So let's take a break for 5 minutes. Thank you very much. So we talk about these types of FM contracts. Let me go back to, yep. So you have the total FM, total facility management. That's the kind of contract where you, the FM provider, takes on the job. You provide the management and the services yourself. A few items may be outsourced, specialist items like cutting work, cleaning, elevator maintenance. Some of those specialist items you may let out task. But essentially, the client expects one invoice and that's it. You take care of things yourself. You can put cleaners on your uniform, security guards, maintenance people on your uniform. That's what the TFM is about. You can do everything yourself. Sometimes you have to outsource security guards service because of a certain NSCDC license that security guards companies must have, and you don't want to go through the process of getting screened for that security guard service. I know FM companies who have their own security guards license, to be able to manage guards, and then they can do a total FM approach in-house. So you have the integrated FM. The integrated FM is actually two variants. The common variant is the client outsources everything to you, right? And you outtask everything to subcontractors while you manage them. That particular variant of the integrated FM is called a principal contractor. A principal contractor receives the whole job, outtasks some, and then retains management. Okay, that's the principal contractor. Then there's the other type of integrated facility management where the client retains the contract with the service providers. All those outtasked service providers are still in the client's payroll. They are still directly reporting to the client, but the client employs an integrated FM company to supervise them, to advise the client, to develop their contract specifications, to evaluate them, all of those things, right? In that model, we call that the managing agent. You are not a managing agent. Your job is to help the client, to supervise the contractors, advise the client on how to deal with those contractors. And you now have the single service contracts, where contracts are placed with specialist providers. The FM duty is to ensure that all these organizations deliver in harmony. And you have the outtasking, where you have activities that are outtasked, including due diligence, financial and due risk analysis. These are more like specialist areas, but in all, outtasking is more of specialist for specific duties. So when an auditor is brought in, it's an outtask. If somebody is brought in to do a landscape evaluation or to run that particular audit, it's an outtask. But if somebody is brought in to provide the service on an ongoing basis, a routine maintenance, a cleaning, a security contract, we call that a single service contract. Following from single service, you could also have bundled service, where you could have MEP, you could have soft services, you could have catering, bundling of a combination of services. All right, so we talked about the managing agents. The FM integrator oversee and manage the performance of service providers and tends to be focused on metrics, beginning to emerge in the UK and parts of Europe. The FM integrator, the managing agents are more, okay, so if I take the managing agent, he presents the client, manage the entire supply chain, but the FM integrator is more like a consultant, like it's an IFM provider, but he doesn't really provide anything. He's just there to advise and ensure things work, more like a consultant. So the managing agent has a bunch of people that does actually managing. So you have all those supervisors, coordinators who are managing all the other service providers, compared to the FM integrator is like a consultant for the clients. It's not really tied into the contract that is managing as such. FM contracts could be input specified or output specified. Input specification is when the client is able to, when the client does not specify all the things that he's going to get out of the service, but specifies what the contractor should do. So if you are given an input specification, you are telling the contractor to do A, B, C at so time, in so and so way. If he does those things, you pay him. Output specification, on the other hand, prescribes what should be achieved, the performance standard sets that should be achieved. Does not necessarily tell the precise way in materials and workmanship that should be employed. That's why it's called output specification. So if you are going to be an internal FM who is going to give out a contract, decide on what kind of specification you want to give. So when you are doing your scoping, you can decide that it's going to be input scoping for input specification or output scoping. If you are doing input scoping, you are focusing on what the controller would do. What will you do to get this job done? Item 1, item 2, item 3. What are the materials you bring? How long, which one will take? What time will you do them? But if you are doing output specification, you are focusing more on yourself and your organization. We have tables. This is quality we want our table to maintain. We have chairs, we have floors, we have toilets, we have ACs. You are focusing more on your assets. We have people who work in this and that and that and that department. These are their expectations, and we want them to always feel this way and give feedback in this way. We'll focus on ourselves and describe all that we want to get, and then the controller will now go and figure out how to satisfy our requirements in the output specification. FM contracting guidelines, make sure the services are described in contracts and its schedules. Measure the standard to which the service is delivered is very important. Ensure that the services you are booking into your contract today can meet tomorrow's needs, or at least a few years' time. Build in rights to terminate. It's very important to not be stuck with a very bad vendor or be stuck with a very bad client. It's both ways. Effective price and quality benchmarking process will help control risk of disputes. All right, so instead of having issues of not being paid or being underpaid, or issues of not delivering to specification, and those deductions that always lead to conflict, make sure they are carefully outlined in the contract. It's crucial to document what assistance supplier will provide on exit. Some contractors will have so much information, but because you told them to go, they will no longer be required. We're moving to someone else. They'll sabotage your transition. It's a major oversight. We just oversight the fact that when you have a contractor, even if you are the one, whether you're the one giving the contract to, or you're the one taking the contract to, at some point the contract will end and someone else will need to take over. You should envisage that now while writing the contract. So there's a clause captured there that if you are handing over, these are the things you must hand over to us. Otherwise, they'll sabotage your efforts to have a proper transition, and you may not be able to get good results from a new client, new contractor. What should the exit schedule be? Employees maybe central. Sometimes you employ a contractor, and all you want to do is get the best employees from them and kick them out, right? Should that be something that is right or wrong? Everything should be captured in the contract. Some contracts don't capture any of these. We have not matured to that extent where we have legal departments for small companies. So if you have a lawyer who can review your contracts, to be helpful. And then who pays for exits? It's crucial to decide this upfront. It's important to ensure that the exit arrangements are flexible as well. Issue to consider when negotiating FM contracts: the communications plan. Don't wake up after you have put a contract in place to start creating, come every Monday for meeting, do this template and fill this form for me. No. All of those things should have been put as part of the communication plan. Performance measurement: how are they going to be measured? How many audits are we going to have? What are the audit points? What are the weights of every audit point? And then if there are issues and complaints, how would they be dealt with? Confidentiality: you're going to expose a lot of your information to a contractor. There must be a confidentiality agreement and understanding. And then insurance: part of the reason why you're outsourcing or giving out a contract is to share risk or transfer risk, right? So appropriate insurance must be in place, okay? And because FM contracts are service delivery contracts, they are not like products that you'll be required to count and you know exactly. Specifying FM services are a bit more difficult because you are required to use words and descriptions that multiple parties can look at and understand it the same way, even though you are describing something that is intangible. I see a lot of people putting contracts in place and saying 6 months, 1 year. There's usually a learning curve, when somebody comes in to take over FM management for your organization, or when you go and take FM management for another organization that requires you to learn and then become stable and start performing, right? If the duration is too short, it's not often very profitable for both parties. You're basically transiting in and out, as it were. But 2 to 3 years, and then when you mature, you need renewal for 5 years. Then you can say you've gotten a good synergy working together. Larger or more complex projects typically have longer durations to allow sufficient time for the success strategy to be achieved. TFM or integrated FM contracts are more complex, typically between 5 and 10 years. So even if you're going to have a short 2 years or 3 years to start, but the renewals will normally go for 5 years or even longer. While longer contract durations for more complex projects, mobilization period for complex projects can be costly, and longer contract durations spread this cost. Mobilization period is costly because you are bringing equipment, you are hiring people, you are putting in new systems in place. Contract changes may result in service performance fluctuations as the new service provider mobilizes and integrates with the client organization. Service provider needs time to build up knowledge of the client and their assets. And the more complex the project, the longer and more costly the knowledge assimilation exercise. So transition, change management takes a lot of time and effort. We're talking about contracts types, and this is continuing that performance-based contracting, where you describe the owner's needs in terms of what is to be achieved. So performance-based contracting, you can link with output specification. So you use output specification to create a performance-based contract, right? So it's not so much about the work done, but the outcome of that work that you are measuring, okay? An example here, maintain a smooth, neatly trimmed, acceptable lawn, free of eroded or bare spots, weeds, and weeds. Maintain grass between 2 to 4 inches in height. Fertilize, water, edge, eliminate weeds, maintain mulch, repair or replace damaged plants in shrubs and plant beds. The first 2 line items are more of the output specification, which is used for performance contracting. They just tell you, this is how I want my lawn to look like. So the input type prescription is also called prescriptive contracting, right? So when you say input specification, it links to prescriptive contracting, all right? Whereas output specification links to performance-based contracting, all right? It's also important as FMs to when you see a contract, to know the meaning of words as they are used in contract. Many of these words are legal terminologies that may be kind of confusing or not fully comprehended by the facility manager, right? So some contracts will have a glossary of terms where this terminology are given their definition as envisaged in that contract. But in many of these contracts, you will not see this. So take your time to look out this outline of words I have put out here, so that you can get their meanings and look at a few contracts that you have in place in your organization. Just read through them and see whether the meanings you research for each of these words and the words you find in those contracts are the same, because you may just I see some students and some of my students in recent past, clip a little bit of a contract and share with me and say, Mr. Paul, what does this mean? And I'll say, no, there must be the meaning of that statement or that word inside the contract. And if it's not there, then you look up the commercial dictionary definition of that word, and then you go back and try to see whether among the options of the meanings you read, which one would closely align with the statement that word is used for in that contract. It's very important that we all have a sense of what is in the contract, so that whether you are the one giving the contract to, or you are the one receiving the contract. Many people think that when a lawyer looks at a contract, the lawyer can see everything and correct and edit and advise you. Lawyers are lawyers. They're not facility managers. They're not engineers. They're not building property managers. They don't necessarily understand the industry you are in. So you must build your ability to understand terminology in your industry, okay? So that when you see a contract, those terminology is not the one that you want a lawyer to be translated for. You must be able to interpret them yourself. And then if you are an internal FM department, don't be afraid of outsourcing your FM. I see, I had the session with the MTN team when they were doing their outsourcing, and I could feel the pressure of the internal management team about what are we going to be doing if this is outsourced, right? So it's important that you learn to elevate yourself to that of strategy. I'm going to outsource does not mean I won't have anything to do. It means that I'm promoting myself from shop floor activities to strategic activities. Okay, tailor the FM strategy to the needs and context of the organization. Align your FM organization with the selected outsourcing model. Get control over service delivery processes and costs using a lean process model. Make proposals comparable in cost and quality in a task. It's a task for FM experts in each FM domain. So in essence, whether if you have your cost model, this is how my cost has always been, and I'm going to outsource it. I'm trying to get better cost out of it. I'm trying to get experts. So my expectation is that I should be able to get a cost that is comparable to or better than the cost I was spending as an internal. And then quality control. I cannot, exit quality control. Whether I have service providers on ground or not, I must be accountable for service quality. So these are strategic approaches to staying relevant if my organization is outsourcing. Many people just stay aloof, allow the board and management at the top to take decisions on outsourcing. You don't provide any strategic contribution to the process. And the first thing they do is to get you off their payroll when bringing in the outsourced companies. And that is a tragedy, which we must not allow happen to us. Okay, so let's hear your questions. Yes, Tosin, let's hear from you. Go ahead.
Wow, thank you very much for the in-depth, the deep, I can see it is coming from the deep of the deep. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
My question, sir. Though I want you to talk about the assessment of the market of facility management, but more importantly, what I want to also to know is how do you structure payment? For example, you take in for you have been you are the one that a company that is outsourcing has just recently employed, and how do you structure your payment? How do you do pricing? I think that's the question. How do you do for pricing, payment structure, management fee, blah blah blah? I don't know.
Are you the one giving out the job, or you are the one going to look for the contract?
Yeah, looking for the contract.
Okay. If you are the one looking for the contract, is the client going to define their service specification for you, or you are the one going to define the service specification for the client?
Either of the two, because there are some that already know what they want, and there are some that they expect you to also like enlighten them.
Okay. The ideal situation would have been for the client to get a consultant to help them to scope and write their specifications professionally, so that vendors who are coming to bid will use their input costs with full understanding of what the client wants to develop what their minimum rates will be for the services. There will be very serious competition among vendors, and you'll be comparing apple to apple, orange to orange. If the client takes the initiative of getting his own consultant to help him develop his scope of services, develop his pricing sheets, develop his service standards expectations, all of those things, service level agreements. If the client can produce that, it becomes easier for you, the vendor, to look at. You now have a full understanding. The whole assets are available there for you to look at. The service expectations, type of customers you'll be serving, the locations, their data is already clear. Okay. Now, you now sit down and use the costing from first principles, what is going to involve for you to deliver that service. You use that costing to build your cost and share it into your rates, into that customer spreadsheet. But some customers don't know how to put together a bid, ITT, or tender document. They don't want to spend the money on getting a consultant to help them to do it. They don't even have enough asset data to give you enough insights into what they want you to come and manage. They expect you, the vendor, to come in, take a look at their facilities, develop the asset register yourself, do the condition assessment yourself, and submit a quote. And you can imagine all controllers coming to do that themselves to submit a quote are going to submit guava versus soursop to oranges to mangoes. By the time the client looks at that kind of returns, they are confused themselves. They will end up going for a risk-based approach where they pick any vendor who has priced the least. Of course, most of the time, the vendor who has priced the least has skipped out on most of their requirements and put a very little requirements on that and then price the least, right? Only for them to end up with issues over escalations, what's in the contract, what's not in the contract later. That is cumbersome. I used to do that. I used to go to clients and do inspections, spend 2 weeks writing best practices and proposals and all. I just realized that clients were enjoying it. You know, I saw a lot of clients enjoying getting me to work for free. So I stopped. There was one facility I went to last week. I was actually looking for a property for my church. So I went to that facility and I discovered that one of the clients who called me to bid for their FM. And they sent me an email. They called me. They made every effort to get me to submit a bid. They even called some people to say, we've not seen your gas submission on this bid. I knew where they were going. They wanted to use my head to actually get something good written down. But I have other things I'm doing with my time, you know, including teaching classes like this to share my knowledge than to be wasting it on such exploitative approaches by clients. So let's be careful where we put our effort, because we're all stewards of the talents that we have been given by God. So that's the first part of it. A client should be invested in preparing the groundwork. And that's why we teach you in this class that when you're an internal FM, don't go using one sheet of paper to bid out FM work to people when you have 10 locations and complex facilities that you've refused to document, right? You're making a mockery of all the training you've received if you cannot take your time to catalog asset register as a basis, as build drawings, service expectations, using line by line, what service we provided, frequency for various services, and the service expectation. You do that yourself, because when you do that, it becomes easy. Now, on the other aspect of how do you charge, if there is clarity, the best way to charge for FM services is charge for the service. I will provide cleaning. You have 3,000 square meters of internal areas for cleaning. I will do it at 14 naira per square meter. Times 3,000 is 1.2 million a month for internal cleaning. You have 2 acres of garden areas. I will do it at 20 naira per square meter, for example. Every month you pay me 800,000 naira for the gardening work, and then I'll have the service level for each of those, right? That is the best way. That pricing implies management fee, profit, and all your direct inputs. Now, what that pricing does, if you can price a service, scope the service, and provide a cost per unit of service, is that if you increase your efficiencies, you will benefit from a wider margin as a service provider. Okay, so that is the best practice for pricing your service. Develop the specifications and the service levels and price the service. Okay, now on your own, at the back end, you have quantified what the input will be for you to make that service. So you work on your inputs, right? You work on your inputs and then use that to know what your total input will be. And you now use that to come up with a rate after you've marked it up to say, this is how much this service will cost to the client. That includes everything in there. Some clients will say, no, they don't want that. They want you to specify exactly what you will do. For example, that cleaning, how many liters of soap, how many cleaners you will bring, how many buckets, how many brushes, how much you will buy each one. Then they want to have all that information and ask you to do a management fee, right? And because this is the old model of property managers, before FM came on the scene, property managers were doing this. They were out-tasking and passing direct costs to the owners and putting a 10% management fee, which drops to less than 5% if they remove all their own overhead costs for their own management and their own team who are running that business. That is not a profitable business for FM. It's not anywhere I would advise you to get involved in. But of course, because there's competition and there is no business and no money, you want to compete in that space. So my approach to this will be, I'll tell the clients, this is the cost of your inputs. All the things you specify will cost you 1 million, right? But I want you to give me 250K as my own money, as my own management fee. I'm not using percentage now. I'm asking for 250K as my fixed management fee. And I'm putting as part of my SLA that this 1 million that you're currently spending, I can reduce it over time to 900 or 800, which means I'm adding additional value to encourage you to pay me my own management fee, right? But every time you go percentage, you've gone against or opposite to everything we have talked about. Because when you do percentage, you will have to help the customer to waste its money so that you can get a higher percentage or higher amount for the percentage. The customer is driving down, you cannot get more than 5%, you cannot get more than 10%. But in going percentage route as your management fee, you will have to make sure that the customer cost keeps going up so that you can get bigger amount for your 5% or 10%, and that's the danger. Okay, did that answer your question, Tosin?
Very, very, very well, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Then the next question is elaborate, please, more on the assessment of the market of facility management, rather.
Elaborate more. Okay, you have to be specific on which area, because the summary of what I've just said is that, one, the market is largely underdeveloped. Okay. And in such a primary or infancy stage in an industry, you will see mostly out-tasking, not outsourcing, because management is not being outsourced. People are still managing in-house and out-tasking plumbing and generator and elevator and cleaning and the rest, right? So my assessment of overall is that we still have less than 6% outsourced FM. Companies and governments that are minding their business and allowing FM companies to manage FM is still less than 6% in our economy. It will rise over time. Some economies are already at 80% globally. So the opportunity for FM companies the scope is huge. If we begin to get that traction in the change towards that direction, okay? All right. Vianana.
Thank you. Talking about the trend in the market, my area of interest is in the aspect of where you are. So you'll be a mentor in that area, and consultancy services and training services.
Yes.
So how do one get into that space?
Now, let me tell you a story. In 2016, when we started out less than a year, we did our first masterclass. We did it in partnership with Next FMS from Canada. And I had this partner brought in from Canada. It's a very sad experience initially, because he got to Lagos and was deported, and we had to buy another ticket to bring him back to Nigeria, which virtually eroded all the margin we had from that training program. But the lesson that he shared, when he was looking at how far we have gone in 1 year and the prospects in the future, was that he said, if you want to get into a profession and you start from a standpoint of knowledge, from the standpoint of giving out knowledge and expertise, that you will have an edge over time compared to those who just come in to try to compete straight from the top. So what is he actually saying? Start developing training content, start being a guest lecturer in training programs, right? Start developing, building yourself in certain specialist area. There are people that are taking on digital twins and Internet of Things and sensors in the built environment. Some have taken on BIM in that area. Some have taken on energy, sustainability studies. Some have taken on environmental issues, pollution, indoor air quality. Some have taken on human factors, human comfort, customer service, leadership, build expertise in something, research and write and teach, right? As a way into the consulting industry.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That is quite insightful.
Very good. Daniel, last question.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Okay. I actually have 3 questions I want to ask. Perhaps I should just ask them, then you answer them as they. Okay. Number 1, let me start from the ones that are outside. There was this form that was sent earlier on this evening by, this morning by Barakat. A non-disclosure form or something like that. I'd like for you to tell us exactly what that thing is all about, because I've not actually filled it, and I was wondering why.
I'm surprised you are getting it now. It's supposed to be the first thing you get even before you start your first class. A non-disclosure form when you're starting any training relationship or even a consulting relationship or employment relationship with any organization is saying that you're not going to use the content and materials for other commercial purposes without the approval of the organization that is the copyright owner. It's all about copyright protection, right? If you've learned, you can teach based on what you have learned, but you cannot use the material that you have been used to train as a commercial material. For example,
as you mean like word for word?
No. It means that you cannot use it word for word to start a school to get paid to be teaching, right? You can use the ideas you've been trained, that you've been taught to create your own content in that area, not verbatim. So it's more about plagiarism and copyright protection. That's why you sign that agreement. Not that we're afraid or suspect that anybody is going to plagiarize our content, but because it's a standard business practice, a part of our quality management system. Our quality management system insists that we have a tool in place, a system in place to let people understand how we protect our copyright content, and I respect that.
Okay. Secondly, sir, I remember last time the day you discussed them when we did plumbing, I noted something about some aspects of the facility operations that were not covered. When I highlighted something about swimming pool, I also noticed that we didn't discuss anything much about ELDs. What I mean, low voltage ELVs, such as access controls, CCTVs and things like that. Well, at least the maintenance aspect of them, even if it means highlighting them in passing, because I know out of experience how much these things or this knowledge and experience have actually been of more importance to people. So the swimming pool, the ELVS, and the lifts. I noticed that we never spoke anything about lifts, and these items actually are very important aspects of facility operations. I wondered why we didn't even.
What I might do is to look at the training contents we have, compare them to what you have received. I know that much of the ELVs came up in the firefighting equipment maintenance class, where you
not necessarily. Not necessarily. Wasn't really spoken about.
Didn't cover smoke detectors well,
at best, he only spoke about sprinklers a little, but all other aspects of it.
That's true. That's true. So I think we've not actually incorporated a security model into the program. I think that's where the gap really is. If we've created a security model, I'm sure most of those access control, CCTV technology for security management would have.
And how to manage security operatives too.
Yes. You're right. So I think that is a gap that we have in our program right now. We have not done anything on security. We have not even, in fact, it's just crossing my mind now that we've not done any security management module in this program. What will happen is that if we do develop it, and of course you're all going to be the alumni, and any new module comes on board, we'll call you back to a session like we always do to the alumni to participate in the new content. Okay, so that's something we need to take on board now.
Okay, lastly, so I would like you to kindly reiterate or just do a little more talk on that that costing you talked about, the unit costing and the percentage cost. I was in a little bit, I'm a little bit, I'd like for you to just do some shedding of light on it again.
Okay.
So the pros and cons of it or something.
If the client gave you a specification and gave you a pricing sheet, right? You will feel according to what the client has asked. The client can say, put the line items for providing this service and that service and put your management fee, right? Now, when they say put your management fee, they can put it there as an amount, put an amount here. Some clients will even say, they will lock in the percentage just right there, management fee 10% in brackets, and then all you do is just calculate it from the expenses you've listed above, right? But the bottom line for me is that you that is providing the services must know what it will cost you to provide the service, okay? If the client is dealing on a service by service line item, that means it is more straightforward. You know what it will cost you to pay salaries, overheads, and all of those things that will go into that particular service. And you just tell the client, this is the amount that I will charge you for this particular service. Now, so that is direct cost being passed to the client with some markup. But you could also run that as a service unit, a unit of service, cleaning per square meter, power per kilowatt hour, air conditioning availability by British thermal units or by number of ACs that you're managing for the clients. All kinds of services, you can break them into a unit of service. But that approach is not very common around us. Most clients do not even want to pay for cleaning per square meter. They want to go the route of how many cleaners will you need, how much will you pay them, and so on and so forth.
Why is that? Why is that?
And that's their level. That to them, that's what they call transparency. That's what they see as you not cheating them. You understand? So how much are you paying this worker? How much are you buying the uniform? How much are you buying the soap and the tissue and the this and that and that? They want to get their eyes into all of that. That is also because of the background. We are coming from a property management background. Property management managers that we are taking over from now gradually are only transaction managers. They call a service provider to give his quote. They put their markup on top of that quote and give it to the client. That's how property management works. And for years, they have been on that 10% on top of costs. Getting clients away from 10% on top of cost is a problem because you have to take their mind away from cost in the first place. Okay. Before you can take their mind off percentage. You now say, look, forget how much it's going to cost me and the percentage I'm going to put on top, but this is how much the job I'm going to deliver it to you for under this and that SLAs. If you look at property management contracts in the past, it's just one page. They will clean with 5 cleaners, each cleaner salary, this, total, percentage markup. That's how they do their own. They don't like service level, they don't like the specification. You understand? Because they are not FMs. But now that I'm coming to do FM work for you, I'm not a property manager, I'm not just a transaction manager for you. I am here to provide a service. I will train these people, I will guide them with service specifications, I will guide them with SOPs, I will make sure they deliver to so and so service levels for you. To do that, I want to be paid so and so amount per square meter. It is not your business how many cleaners I use, provided I give you your space clean to that extent. Few clients are beginning to accept, but most are still resisting it. I'm still getting into contracts that, as at now, that are still being priced in the input way. But at least what I've been able to come out of is percentage. I don't do percentage. I have to tell the client, you know what? I'm not going to be locked to any percentage. This is how much you must pay me. Even if it's just 200,000 you want to pay me at the end of the month. It doesn't matter how much the job is going to cost you. I want to get my 200K every month while I'm delivering this service for you, right? And ensuring that you get the service level quality that I promised.
Okay. All right. Your concept actually, well, it's not like it's a new concept, I do, but I think I accept it. But then for beginners, the challenge I see is that for beginners, going into the unitary system of this pricing is going to be a bit dicey for them. So I will actually subscribe to going through the line item system, master this art, get your services to top notch, let them understand you, and you and them have this relationship. Then you can start beginning to tell, okay, let's not do this old system, let's do the unitary. Just pay me, this is my overhead, this is what I think I'm going to use as a profit. Then let me just manage the contract. It's just like you're now metamorphosing into a proper contract management where you get your own lump sum and then you manage the quality and whatever that comes at the end of the day for them. And then the day you beat, maybe you can do incentives. I beat down your price by some percentage.
Exactly. Give me more. Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Fantastic. Good one. Thank you. Tafik.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, thanks for delivering today's course. It was actually an eye-opener for me, because when you were asking about the facility management companies, I didn't even know. I only know Alphamate and Max-Migold. But I got to know much about that today. But I have like 2 questions and 2 observations. But the first question is, I think this is actually personal, but how did you arrive at Max-Migold?
That's a good question. Max-Migold is a company that I bought. I bought it from a few friends. I used to fund and sponsor them years ago. So when I acquired it, I basically maintained the name and rebranded it, gave it a branding and identity.
Wow. That's good. Then that's good to hear. The number 2 is like in our company now, they are planning some trainings, something like the fundamental facility management practice and such. But I think with this my facility FMMC, I think that is like belittling myself engaging in something like that. Or what do you think about it? Because they are asking me for the they are putting me on a role of like fundamental practice.
You have passed that stage. You've passed that stage. If you've taken the FMMC, you've taken a comprehensive package, right? FM fundamentals, or that particular 1-day class or 2 days class you're talking about, is just like repeating or getting excerpts from the first 2 classes we had out of these 30 classes that you've had so far in this program. So yes, definitely it's not something I would recommend. At your level, after you've done the FMMC, you should start saving up for the FMP, the IFMA FMP, or the Pro FM credential. You understand? That's your next level. So you've moved away from a 300,000 diploma to an 800, 900,000 naira diploma. That's your next level. Start saving towards the next big thing that will give you a permanent designation. Okay.
So thanks for that. I really appreciate it. The number 3 point is, this is actually an observation, and I'm sorry if I'm not saying it in the right way. What I'm trying to insinuate is your textbooks. Let's say these slides. For me, I'm a type of person that I read very well, and I'm not that conversant with key points. So having this all the time, I just scroll through, just take a brief. But I like to read later, to read comprehensively. But initially at the start of the class, I actually mentioned it, but he said there's nothing like available like that. But it will be okay for you to even write a textbook. We have some of our lecturers when I was in school that doesn't even have up to what when we are talking of knowledge, they don't even have up to what you had. And they wrote textbooks. and their textbook still serves as a reference to me personally till this date. So I want to urge you to write a textbook on your name. Then maybe you can embed it in the course of the FMMC. Then share it. Then we know we have something to read after the class in a comprehensive manner.
Don't worry. So, the project is already on.
On that.
Project is already on. Yes, definitely.
Please, when the project is on,
we're going to have series of books released, about 10 books.
Exactly.
Released in due course. With the project already on. In fact, what we are leveraging on now is the video content that we already have that we've shared with you. We are building on that as the basis, and we have a spreadsheet of topics, subtopics, and the last subtopics level that is forming the layout, like a table of contents for all the books that are going to be released. So yes, thank you, Tafik, for that. We have that on course.
Okay, because for the video reference, I won't lie to you. I don't watch it because it's just like me watching the show of a match. A match I watch. So telling me to watch it, something somehow a little bit difficult for me.
Every video you have gone through, every class you have gone through, you better go and watch them again if you want to pass your exam.
I will. That was just
you better go and watch them again if you want to pass your exam. You must watch all of them again, to be real.
Wow.
Yes,
that's a whole lot of work too.
No. Just have it in your phone, plug it in your ear, right? Yeah. And let my voice and the discussion we're having in class just be sounding in your ear throughout the day. So you can go through all of them again while reading your materials and doing more research, because your exam is 2 weeks time, right? So be ready.
Yes. Okay? All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a nice day. Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.